Welcome to another episode of the Final Gravity Podcast, a podcast about craft beer, life, friends, and existing on planet Earth. I am one of your hosts, Cousin T, here with me always.
Viking Peaches, what's up?
CJ Merlin, otherwise known as the Groovy Bear.
Ooh, he gave his last name this time.
Yeah, he did. That's a first. Actually,
Whoops.
I had to pick up pizza.
Disregard that last
I had to pick up pizza before the show on the way up here, and I was like, "Hey, man, what name is it under?" And he's like, "Christopher." And I was like, "I know that's your name, but I want to be like, who the fuck is Christopher?"
What the fuck is a Christopher?
Anyway, tonight with us, we have a special guest, author, drummer, social critic, Vinny Rannazzisi.
So that's an extra 2 syllables you use when you talk to the pizza place.
Yeah.
Christopher. Give me a fucking break. Sorry. This is Chris M. Late.
Yeah.
Sorry.
A winner of Genius Grants, winner of fucking Pulitzer Prizes.
Yep. I'm pretty sure he's got a Nobel Peace Prize.
If not, he should.
Oh, man. That's so nice. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk with you guys.
Awesome. We're glad to have you, man. Like, super glad you agreed. You know, and you potentially had a gig this evening, so you weren't sure if you were going to be able to make it, but...
Right. And we never put you in the back of a van. We never once covered your eyes or told you weren't going to a certain place.
He certainly knows exactly where he is. It's not a cabin in the woods.
No, this is great. I'm glad I have no time constraints. It's a lot looser like that.
Read the card. Just read the card we gave you.
Read the cards.
I already dropped an F-bomb, so I'll do whatever.
Hey, man, whatever. This is not a kid-friendly show.
Let's hope not.
I
gotta say, I was jamming out at the parking lot today, cooking up some hot dogs up on the mountain, listening to that last 20 Grand album that's on Spotify.
I'm glad you liked it. I don't know if you'll hear that or see that again.
What? Oh, no. Well, I want to hear about that later, but shameless plug, that was an amazing album.
Oh, yeah. I'll just quick summation right quick. Kendra went off and did some other things. She's going to spend the winter in Boise, but we have got a replacement singer, Sanjaya Malakar, and he's taken over the band. We've had one rehearsal with him. It was a nice fit, real pumping. And then now it's like an arms race. Everyone's writing songs in the band. It's pretty exciting. So,
nice.
You know, Matt's writing a bunch of songs on bass, and Sanjaya has a couple songs. Eric's writing songs. Zach has a bunch of songs. Rebecca's writing songs again. And so it's very exciting. So, yeah, we're looking forward to the new era, whatever that is.
For those that listen and don't know what or whom 20 Grand is, 9-piece funk band from right here in Whitefish,
Thomas, correction
Montana.
there. It's the best damn 9-piece funk band.
I'm sorry.
Appreciate that.
I've got credits on that album.
It's
2, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely deserve it.
It's actually
Bourbon
funny.
Street for Whitefish.
Bourbon
Street for Whitefish. It's a fucking damn good funk band.
It's a damn good funk band. It's funny the other day, too, because I was going back through Spotify, released all of those, like, 2020 rewinds or wrap-ups or whatever for everybody over the last week. And we initially on this podcast has used Opry Jacket for the intro song for the first 12 episodes. So when the song came on the other day, I thought an episode of the podcast was coming on in the middle of my podcast. I was like, wait, shit.
Right there. No, I got Opry Jacket definitely is jamming up. Opry Jacket and Funk Penitentiary both made it in my 2020 top 100.
Good. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was a fun album. We'll maybe play some of those songs live still, but we are, we just move on and we move forward, and that's all you can really do. And we had a great run with Kendra, and she's off to do other things. So she's always welcome to rejoin the band, but we have to keep. It's a business as well as it is a creative outlet, and so we just push forward, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. I'm excited to hear the new stuff coming out. I was always wondering when she took off on her adventure what was going to go on with that, but I'm glad to hear you guys are making some new stuff, and I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, we had some cool band meetings and really aired everyone's opinions. You know, we are a funk democracy, so that took a while to get everyone's opinions and everything to understand where everyone was at, and so we're all in a good place to push forward together.
Nice. So last couple episodes, we were talking about our We started with some winter seasonal beers on our tasting episode that went, I would say, 70% well. And then we got into kind of holiday traditions and how shit has gotten weird in this country and on this planet through COVID, and how things are just so much different.
Wait, really? They are? I don't know. Shit seems the same to me.
You know,
I haven't noticed.
but we're going to kind of continue a little bit with that tonight. Josh, what are you drinking on over there?
I am drinking one of the best damn beers in the whole world. Limited release edition of the Red Chair.
We should have known.
Northwest
We
Pale
should have
Ale.
known.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was cruising through Safeway the other day and just kind of happened to see a couple cases of this sitting there. Deschutes will every once in a while release like a limited run of it without announcing it. So saw that sitting over in Safeway and had to pick up a case. Just like a dope Northwest Pale Ale, easy drinking, has a nice little hop to it, a little bit of spice, kind of a winter seasonal type. They've had it a lot through the years, won a couple different awards throughout its time. One of my favorite beers in the whole damn world.
I remember Craggy, downtown Whitefish, used to have it on Nitro, and it was fucking delicious.
Ed and Molly's had it on Nitro last season.
Oh, up on Whitefish
Yeah,
Mountain?
up on the hill.
Nice.
Yeah. What are you guys drinking on over there?
I'm 2 weeks in a row now going after these Bay Aaron seasonal. I'm doing their Doppelbock lager, smooth, malty goodness, strong and hearty. It's like 8.5%. It's a good goddamn beer.
I'm joining him on that right now. I'd second. It's a good goddamn beer.
Yeah, this is definitely a parallel to the faceplant that we had last week. Yeah, great beer. And you're drinking some Sacred Waters, V?
Yeah, I don't want to jump into the Doppels just yet. I wanted to make sure I had the base before I got too hyped. But I've been up since 4:00, so I'm ready to get into the Doppel too, no doubt.
Damn.
Winter beers all around.
Oh yeah, tis
Bigger
the
ABV,
season.
richer flavor.
Tis the season of skiing and treason, and drinking lots of fucking beer.
I saw your edit with your brother.
Yeah, that was a
YouTube.
fun one. That was kind of an unplanned. Dude, Talon and I haven't actually had a day of really shredding together in almost 2 years since I moved out to Montana. We, cruised up there. I got a reservation super last minute for the day for parking up on Batchy, and he hooked up in my truck, and we just cruised up, had a good time, skied with a couple of homies from the ski shop I used to work at, and then he took a lap through park, and I got inspired, busted out the camera, shot some photos, and then the next lap I was like, you know what, screw it, just pulled out my cell phone and literally just follow cammed him one full take down the mountain on my phone. And then just like later that night, found a fun little song online that was royalty free, threw it into the editor, chopped it up, and made a quick edit.
Yeah, dude, people spend all day trying to get edits like that.
Dude, it was a fun, man. We were just chilling. I mean, that's the best way to do anything. Just have a good time and make something fun. Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Viking Peaches is where you can find that on YouTube. That's my personal channel when I'm not on the podcast.
Enjoy Every Day also has some of these edits, if not most of them.
It's all linked together, man. Viking Peaches, Enjoy Every Day.
It's all
synonymous.
linked together. All right. But man, I tell you what, we've had some good conversations over the last 2 weeks. We've enjoyed some good beers. But now it's time to talk about the one thing we haven't talked about since the last time we talked and said we weren't going to talk until after that thing was
We're going to
over.
talk about the one thing that we haven't talked about since the last time we talked about the thing that we're not going to talk about that we're about to
I try to make that as convoluted sounding as possible.
You guys said you wouldn't tell anybody. You said you wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah, you said you wouldn't tell.
I'll tell.
Now.
But now that we are fucking, six weeks post-election? 5 weeks post-election?
5+.
Give or take. Holy shit.
As we dive in here, I'm going to disappear for 2 seconds. I'll still be listening. You guys start this conversation. I just need more beer for this conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure if anyone else that's listening right now is going to be the time.
Now is the time to hit the pause button, refill your flask.
This is a great spot if you don't want to listen to this kind of shit, to just turn it off. You got your 10 minutes of beer talk. We sort of, but if you don't want to hear what we're about to say about a lot of things,
but you might want to hear what I have to say. I'm new.
Yeah, that's very, very true. That's very true. Shit, man, what a fucking roller coaster. What a circus.
Circus might be the best word for it. Honestly, truly.
I think circus makes it sound way more fun than it has been.
That's very true.
Lots of clown cars, though.
Yeah, a lot of clown cars. It's like the circus that shows up, but in vans. It's kind of like the carnival. It's more of a carnival than a circus.
But it's the carnival that's filled with those carnies that give you nightmares, and like the clowns that are gonna like sneak into the bathroom stall and murder you, and
corn dogs, guns, Right. But Jesus Christ, which actually leads us into the first topic of the discussion for this evening, which I'm gonna throw right at our guest man. How the hell did we get here?
How the hell did we get here? I actually asked myself that lots of times. And, man, I didn't, to hear, is here, are you talking about where, and one of the parties of our country, wish we had multiple parties, talking our conversation earlier, one of the parties, the two parties in our country is undermining democracy and having a civil war amongst themselves. So getting here, I didn't think we'd get to there. I think that enough people would have had enough realism to realize that they had lost. If it was like 2000, where it was like one state, I can see all this going on, But how did we get here? I think about that a lot. A lot of people say, me and my coworkers have talked about this. Sometimes they say, "Oh, Fox News," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a culprit of creating a lot of negative partisanship. There's no doubt about that." But I think about it, and it's like that thing was already that segment of the population was already built in before the mid '90s or whatever, late '90s when Fox News popped. 28% of Americans approved of Richard Nixon when he resigned. All right, that's 28% of the country. Those people had kids. That's how we got here. Those people had kids. That's how we got here.
And multiple kids. Multiple kids.
And they believe in
and those kids had kids.
And those kids had kids, and they're almost ready to vote too. And so, how did we get here? Those people are still in our country. They don't believe. They believe in social conservatism. And they will never vote for a liberal because they hate the libs. They want to own the libs. They will never, because they never believe in a pro-choice. So I grew up in this Catholic background. The people will never vote for a Democrat because they're baby killers. So those people, that 28%, that 30% of the country is never going to vote Democratic. So that's a pretty significant percent of the population. Then all you have to do is just convince all these people that are like new voters, I guess you would say, that Trump brought into his tent, somehow, amazingly, voting against their economic interests. We have no idea. We talked about that too before the show. How did we get to here? They convince these people, and they're upset because they think they see a lot of PC stuff happening. Maybe they latch onto a PC issue, or maybe they're transphobic, or maybe they're homophobic, or maybe they hate like people mixing the races, their miscegenation. I mean, like all these different things. People have different reasons to come into this Republican tent. It used to just be like deregulation, social conservatism, small government. That was it was like 3 tent poles, and then now they're building their entire party on just hating liberals. That's how we got here.
And I know here has a very loose connotation because there are a lot of heres right now, that are coincidentally happening all at the same time. So I'm glad you were able to kind of like surmise that all into like one collective here.
Yeah, and the here is changing by the minute. Like I'm waiting to go home and check Twitter to see what happened with the fucking Supreme Court today. Can they throw this lawsuit out, and can we just keep trying to get forward? There's parts of me that are worried about civil war, But parts of me read articles and they're like, Wall Street will never let civil war happen. There's too much at stake. There aren't the geographical boundaries, the geographical variances that instigated the Civil War. There was of course, there was your people in New York, the merchants that were affected by the cotton trade, and how they were laying out of the Civil War. Just they were upset because they were losing money, and trading with England and whatnot. But there was an obvious geographic difference. We don't have that anymore. There's 32%, 35% of Wyoming's liberal. I know, it's obviously conservative country, but the country's too mixed up. It's not geographically set to foment and to increase civil war. But I am concerned about right-wing terrorism happening between January 5th, which is the Georgia runoff, and the inauguration day. I think that until that, I think we'll get past Christmas, but I'm wondering what will happen in Georgia, and then I'm wondering what will happen between then and inauguration. And that is the area of time that I'm really concerned about when we're talking about getting to here.
Well, and see, speaking of your concept about the potential of civil war, I was very concerned just coming out of the election. I think I like to think, and maybe this is me just being a hopeful optimistic, that that was when tensions were going to be the highest, right? Because even a lot of these people that are, deluded in their thinking one way or another, just this whole all the tension that was there was really building up to the election. And now, although there's still a lot of people that are very tense on both sides, there's also a lot of people that just lost interest the second, okay, I cast my vote, I don't care anymore. So I think that was the fulcrum of the peak of that real tension. And I don't disagree. I think there's going to be a lot of fighting and minimal comparatively to a full all-out war, violence on potentially both sides going forward from here. And I don't think we're out of the threat of a potential civil war, but I don't think it's going to happen now in the next year. Because like you said, the country's kind of too mixed, and there's a lot of people that just don't give a shit anymore, which is partially, I think, how we got here also. Just because we had record voter turnout this year, and still something probably 40% of the population didn't vote or some shit like that. So there's just a lot of people that don't really care. And so I think potentially maybe when the next election cycle happens, that's when those tensions will start to get heightened again. And that's when you'll start seeing things get worse and worse, because we definitely haven't been trending in a positive direction. But I think for now, we might be able to put the threat of an actual war behind us, hopefully. Well, and CJ, I know you and I were talking on the phone the other day. You had some interesting ideas and just, thoughts about kind of how we've gotten here as a society that you were voicing to me the other night.
Yeah.
Maybe that conversation was best left to the phone call.
Thinking over the last 10 minutes since Vin, you put that point out there, I think it's really important to note that we're in a different point in time where a quote unquote civil war has different economic impact than it ever has before. I mean, there's a whole new factor to it now. It's not just I think this way, you think this way. It's honestly a big portion of the entire global economic impact is based upon the stability of this nation. So it's if it does, it's just wildly different than the way it traditionally is supposed to be, right? I mean, you think this way, I think this way. We're gonna go kick the shit out of each other until we figure it out. That doesn't work anymore. And I mean, that's a paraphrase and a half right there, but it doesn't work anymore. This nation is based off principles that a lot of people who would advocate for, say, a change of direction, that change of direction would come with a global cost, not just a local or a social cost. It's
well, you think a global pandemic might be a good enough cause, but
and I agree with that. But I mean, when the French imposition happened, the Spanish imposition happened, like what we're talking about now is a globalized society, and you're talking about the lowest of the low saying like this doesn't work for me. That's a much bigger sprawl than ever before. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not for it. I think anybody who knows me knows I'm absolutely fucking for it. But it's hard to envision because it's never happened before. The changes that we need to make are to bring society forward are far-reaching. They're hard. They're really hard. They require a lot of participation. I think a point that you were bringing up, your main point, was just kind of just the difference between now and then. Even historically, this has happened many times. Historically, upheaval has happened many times. When you talk about upheaval in the globalized society, well, that's groundbreaking, right? I mean, that's new shit. So yeah, I mean, where are we now? I don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
Where do we go?
I don't think any of us do.
That's a big question.
How did 73 million people vote for that guy? So it's crazy to me.
And I guess there's another kind
did
of
150 million people not vote at all?
That's a worthwhile question. They're all worthwhile questions.
I mean, yeah, there are 350 million Americans.
Sounds about right.
You can take off probably 12% of that as people under the age of 18, possibly more. 12 to 15%. So that still leaves twice the amount of people that voted.
Right.
Or damn close to it.
50 to 60% of the population just didn't give a shit enough to vote.
And at the same time, if you can piggyback those stats onto the fact that Biden actually outperformed Obama at the polls, and Trump this time around very nearly outperformed Obama at the polls. So that's even though most of our population didn't vote, what they came out and voted for was more divisive than it's ever been before.
Yeah. Certainly polarized.
By black and white statistics. It's very polarizing. It's very scary. Well, it's also very eye-opening that we still live in a country where some of the things we might say on this podcast and say, well, that's obvious. You should obviously do that. There's 73 million people that are like, no.
What?
No.
Huh?
And I have a lot of love, I think, for just about everybody I meet until you prove yourself not worthy of that. I mean, I've lived all over this country, including the Deep South. So while I'll make stereotypical jokes, I don't take them lightly. It's funny to really think, and funny in the terms of like that kind of satirical bummer funny.
Funny, not like ha ha funny, but like
73 million people said we were doing good for the last 4 years. 73 million people thought we've been on a good track. Now, I don't want to single those people out. I don't want to call them any names. But if we're going to talk about politics, 73 million people in this country think we're on a good track.
But that still leaves 225 million people that think we're not on a good track.
Well, it leaves 225 million people who aren't willing to say whether or not we're on a good track or not.
Or
they don't. You can't assign
another 70 million people that obviously think we're on a bad track. But
80 million said we're not.
80 million said we're not.
80 million said we're not.
But then there's a lot of people who are just like, There's a lot of problems there.
There's about 150 million people that just weren't affected enough by whatever track we're on to give
proletariat.
a shit.
It's sad. You're right. It's totally sad. How do you not see that in 1940 your manager of your factory floor made 10 times as much as you, and now that person makes 1,500 to 2,000 times as much as you? How are you not affected by that? You are affected by that. You're the lumpen proletariat. You're just the lazy asses. And
they're the people who aren't affected enough. They can still pay their rent. They still got food in their fridge. They think they're doing okay.
Or
they're not doing as okay as they should.
Or they don't understand their affection. Or they don't understand the affect.
And they're highly influenceable.
That whole percentage is not, wealthy landowners who are like, it doesn't matter to me. A lot of those people are very directly affected by that, but they're still willing to stand on a party line for that.
And that's because of the culture war.
And that's where it really needs to, is like, economics is one thing, right? And we know which party supports what. But there is, and we talked about this before the mics were on, a large percentage of people who actually vote to their detriment.
Every time.
Because they are so loyal to their brand.
How does the culture war mean more than that?
So where does that come together, and what's happening there? Because there is a large percentage of this populace that votes against their best intentions.
Yes, owning the libs that important to vote against your pocketbook.
Right.
You're just like supporting Wall Street, and like you're just to your own detriment. You're supporting these tax structures that are going to screw you.
Or forgive me for saying, but not just your pocketbook, but your family, your well-being. Why do people with large families oppose socialized healthcare? Why do people with children oppose socialism when education, the entire education system of this country, is based upon a socialist concept? So how does one side make it so clear that you vote for us no matter what, even when it is not to your benefit?
It affects you negatively. You still do it.
And
this brings us right into the next point of contention or topic point that we're going to talk about tonight. Like, what has changed more directly in the last 4 years? And I feel like it's some of the things that you guys have been touching on here toward the end of that conversation. So I just want to make sure that we're crossing over into that topic frame and sticking on that. But you guys are absolutely right. Like, how do you not see that what's going on is affecting not only your own personal pocketbook, but like family and friends and their shit and everything else that's going on?
Well,
and
I think what it boils.
Go ahead.
I think what it boils down to, and one of the things that I think has even been made more clear in the last 4 to 8 years in this country, it boils down to a fear factor, right? Like
they're coming for this.
The larger media and the people who control things know how to play to people's fear. And unfortunately, one of those fears that is the easiest to play to is an us versus them mentality. You find a them to blame, and you can make us come together to blindly and loyally support the us over the them. And in this case, if we're talking about the libs being the them, they want to take this away from you. They want to hurt you. They want to make it worse for you. And so even if you're presented logical facts about how voting for them might be better for you personally, you is not the us. And the us in that case is these higher up elites and these wealthy people who don't want to lose their money. And so they convince the people that are easily convincible that voting against their own interest is going to be better for the greater us in the long run. And then that has just been driven even more home with someone like the fucking tangerine in chief in office, who entirely makes everything about himself. And then his followers think that him is the us, and then anything voting against the us is awful. And then they're just led down this rabbit hole of fear where they're not able to listen to something as an opposing view because it's just something to be afraid of.
God, it's like trying to convince people that there's other beers other than IPA.
You're lying. There's nothing. Only IPAs. I only want RPM everywhere I go.
Jesus Christ.
The fear is true, man. Every time people that try to explain what's going on right now, they talk about that. The fear, like the Democrats are coming for you. There's an angry mob. There's this, there's that. They're coming for your guns. They're going to take away. Even like the Rebecca my wife got a survival radio just so we could hear the election because we couldn't hang out with her parents because they're super, old and COVID threat.
Wait, like an emergency radio? Is it like one of those ones that you hand wind?
That has a feature. It has solar power and you can hand wind it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've got one of those too. I've got one.
Yep.
And on the box is like a 40-year-old white woman, blonde hair, and her 12-year-old white daughter, and they're like in fear. And they're like, "Look, mommy, Black Lives Matter." It's just like it felt like that's what I captioned them. It was totally playing on this. What we're talking about. It was like everything. The fear. They're creating the fear. It even enters the product, the merchandising, those kinds of things. It's like no. Those are just people that want to be respected as human beings, but they're turned into something else.
Right.
Because they latch onto the buzzwords, defund the police. I was so worried that almost hijacked everything and turned everything bad, because Republicans are amazing at turning things against the Democrats so well. They're very, very, very good at it, and I thought that was going to really define the entire campaign almost, and it didn't, thankfully. Because Biden
that could have gotten dangerous real fast.
But it did play a role. It did play a role too.
But that's why my mom didn't vote for Trump or vote for Biden, because she's like, oh, the Democrats are going to burn the cities. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude.
That's not what. Yeah.
That's
Well,
that's not what's going to happen.
As maybe personally defendably the most socialist person at this table.
You want to have a Marxism off?
It upset me that defund the police became such a weaponized phrase of the right.
Oh, so bad.
Because it was a poor choice of words, really.
Well, it was. It
really was.
But,
it's like let's look at the budget. It was too long.
But let's look at the fact. Let's look at the facts too. I mean, we now have most local police forces, at least 1 in 3, 1 in 4 officers carrying hardware that 2 years ago was military grade. Yeah. That's a problem.
That's a huge problem.
Give me an AR-15 and tell me not to shoot it. That's like being on the side of a cliffside and saying, "Don't look down."
That goes back 40 years though.
It does. It's not a modern problem, but it's been a building problem.
Worse.
Absolutely, and the access to it,
and the
that's like handing me a joint and asking me not to smoke it. I mean, like, I don't know if you know me, but
here's the thing: psychologically, once you open doors, it's a lot easier to open doors than it is to close them.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you give someone a powerful tool and then say, only use it when it's the right time, that's a door left half open.
Well, so yeah.
And once you use it once, the likelihood of you using it again provably goes up exponentially.
Man, I may have been watching too much Star Wars lately, but I'm getting a whole lot of Jedi Sith connotations going on in my head right now.
Yeah. It's a fascinating
force choking, and
we gave power to people with the understanding they would protect us. What we didn't really understand, and still as a human concept don't understand fully, is that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. When you give someone a tool, they're going to use it whether or not they need it or not. And that goes down to the smallest screwdriver up to the highest powered, 5.56 millimeter assault weapon. Yep. If you give someone a tool and say only use it when you need to, they're going to find a reason to need to use it
all the time.
What about the tool? The tool in the essence is be like, oh, this is what precipitated. Oh, the drug dealers have Uzis. Oh, we better get better weapons than the drug dealers. Why don't you just try to get the Uzis off the street instead of having an arms race with gangsters? It's like,
and that goes back to the 1920s, right? That goes back to bootlegging, and
that goes back hundreds of years.
But here's the thing too: is that
weapons, I would say the 20s.
Well, the automatic weapons, yeah, but I mean, like weaponizing.
It was never the cops, nor was it whether it be the bootleggers or whatnot that had the weapons first. The weapons manufacturers made the gun. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, if the gun's out there, they're going to have it, and so we have to have it. Right. The constant cycle of escalation was created early on by capital. I mean, and by the way, for all of our, we have 9,000 listeners now, Josh?
I think it was closer to like 10 or 12.
I'm very pro.
I don't know what fucking podcast you guys are on.
I fucking enjoy the Second Amendment as much as anybody, but it's amazing that the product had to be put out there first for us to make it an issue. It had to be made first. There had to be something to escalate over before there was an escalation. And so the minute that one semi-automatic handgun was put out, the next thing you know, we have the Tommy gun. We have the escalation was built upon capitalism.
It was built suitcase, the guitar case machine gun.
It was just built on money. It's just if they could sell it, they're going to sell it, man. There was never a government regulation that said you couldn't sell a Tommy gun to a bootlegger.
What I mean,
It was just put the weapons out there. The more bullets fired, the more money made. Straight up.
speaking to your
It's kinda
point,
cool.
Weren't
CJ,
those things like
like,
40 caliber or something? Like Tommy guns were like some absurd caliber bullet
I don't know the
size.
caliber, but I thought it was.
they do a lot of
I
damage.
honestly
That's
don't
what
know.
I know.
I don't know.
I
thought it was a
but
223,
speaking to your
but I don't
point,
know.
CJ,
I don't know
the
that much
idea
about
of,
ammunition.
you give them this tool and they're going to use it. It's the concept of if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem is a nail, right?
Yep,
Like,
exactly.
if you're given a
Exactly
whole
that.
toolbox
Well
and you
spoke,
can
well
pick the
spoke.
right tool for the situation, that's great. But if you give every cop a fucking gun and you tell them only use this when it's appropriate, and every situation the only tool they have is the gun, then every situation is appropriate to use a gun. Like,
Yeah, their
And-
perception of what's appropriate is going to be different from person to person, because that's just how life is.
And to get us back onto our kind of broad political subject, I would say that phrase, Josh, is spot on to just about everything we're going through right now. Is that if all you provide is a hammer, then every problem is a nail.
Well, and
We're
media
dealing with a lot of the
doesn't really
social
help,
level, not just firearms, but I mean, look at COVID-19, look at anything. Everything we're the government is tackling everything like it's just a fix. And
The problem,
it's not.
the problem being that when you give everyone the hammer, when you give everyone a hammer, the problem is always a nail, is not always the case, because sometimes it's going to be a screw or something else, and people are just going to use their fucking hammer anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and actually, you just kind of brought up that whole next point in my mind, just how the media portrays it all too. Going back to kind of that fear-based conversation, but be it COVID-19 or the protests earlier this summer, the media companies nowadays, what everyone calls the news, it's not news, it's entertainment media, but what entertains people? What's entertaining is the things that you're afraid of in a lot of ways. That's why we watch horror movies. That's why we like jump scares. That's why we like action movies where people are doing things that we'd probably be too afraid to do in real life. But when it comes to those protests, the media doesn't show the 99% of protests that are peaceful. It shows the 1% that are violent. When it comes to
Right.
Certainly.
COVID-19, it doesn't show everything going right. It questions all the things that might go wrong, right? Like, my brother and I were having this conversation about the vaccine recently, where he had read an article that was basically saying that we need to make sure these vaccine companies are telling us the potential side effects for the vaccine, which, yes, I entirely agree with, but it also makes people start to question things that they don't need to be questioning, right? Like, if you're about to get on a boat and there's the captain standing there next to the boat, you get on the boat, you ride the boat across the water, you don't worry about it. But if you're about to get on the boat and there's someone standing next to the boat, well, the captain needs to tell you if there's a leak in the boat, you suddenly start questioning if there's a leak in the boat. And what the media is doing is making you question if there's a leak in the boat, because their fear sells better than just trusting the boat.
It makes for exciting television, right? Like it makes for good television.
Well, in the immortal words of George Carlin, you should question everything. There is a level as to how deep you need to question.
Exactly.
Things like that, yeah. I would trust if I were walking up to a boat and I get on it and everything looks okay. Boat's probably not going to sink.
But the second someone says, well, the captain should tell you if there's a leak in it, you're like,
well, I feel like, I would hope that he would tell me that there's a fucking leak in it. But at the same time, where the amount of information that is available to people and what people actually choose to read is more terrifying to me, because they don't question anything of what they're actually watching or ingesting at that point. They just see and read the things that they want to, and
It feeds their narrative.
yeah.
And they're not really understanding what good journalism is anymore. Like, oh, you're reading the Washington Post. Like, are you kidding me, dude? This is fucking Woodward and Bernstein, dude. We're talking about these guys. This is the newspaper that broke Watergate. You're trying to tell me this is fake news? This is a joke? These are the cream of the crop of investigative journalism, dude. This is what is going on in the country. These people are telling me. I'm sorry you think that the New York Daily News is on the same level as the Washington Post. That is a problem, Thomas. That I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I don't.
Biden needs to create a new cabinet position, cult deprogrammer.
There's there's an app that the world needs, Cult the Programmer.
Oh, God, that would be good.
Yeah, man. I mean, people can't even differentiate where good news is coming from, where valued sources are coming from.
We were talking about this before the show started. I feel like I get the most valuable news from Saturday Night Live on the Weekend Update.
The satire is almost more accurate than the media.
Like, that's not okay.
So in terms of it going forward, is that an important point? And I want to pose this question to Vin, although I think I know what your answer is going to be because I already have mine in my head. But is that an interesting thing that because we have more news, we have to start really prioritizing what is real in this country? Do you feel like the accessibility to information has actually degraded our ability to understand what is reality and what is not?
Well, you're also going to have the problem of people telling you that, like, what news to you is not necessarily news to Vinny, or it's not news to me, or news to Josh. But I see what you're saying.
Right. I think the point being that there was a point in time where and whether you could discredit any story at any point in time, but there was a point in time where a streamlined form of news was so fucking important to the American electorate that it could not be touched. You had to trust what was coming through the airwaves or the TV.
That was when there's 3 channels.
So now we have everything, right? Now we have everything. You have access to everything.
But think about
and
all that stuff.
Is there a way to fact check, or is there a way to really prioritize what is real and what is speculative anymore? And obviously, I'm going to ask the question, even though I know the answer. Is that important? The answer being yes. Knowing what's speculative and what's just coming down the pipe as actual fact, that's a real big deal.
See, what I find interesting in comparison to is watching or like seeing people get on these tirades about whatever it is that they believe in because they saw something on the internet and didn't actually do a bunch of research about it. And there's so much research, and there's so much information and stuff out there. But then you look back at what happened when H.G. Wells released fucking War of the Worlds.
Right.
And the entire populace was like losing their fucking minds. But then again, at that time, there was no way for them to know otherwise. Now that we have access to all of this extra information.
Right. But isn't that the brilliance of that thing? Is it how amazing is that? Back then, I mean, you could argue they have no way, but now we have every way to figure it out.
And that's the point that I'm making. We have every way.
You could still pull that. You could still pull that con on the American people. I guarantee it. I fucking guarantee it.
Maybe not on the entirety of the American people, but there'd be probably like 75 million people that would follow you.
We're at 73.
28%.
Well, what's interesting to me is, now back then the news stations were the news stations, right? It was a lot harder for some random person to just go and like make a news broadcast. Nowadays, any idiot with a camera and a green screen can record a YouTube channel and stand in front of it and speak as if they are reporting the news and throw on overlays of graphics that look like the news. And they can say whatever the fuck they want. Right. They don't even have to research. They don't even have to tell accurate stories. They can just make shit up and speak factually enough that people will start to believe it if it confirms the biases that they already have going into it.
Yeah, and you can have a fun blonde female friend read the weather. It could be totally wrong. People watch that shit anyway.
Just feeds their narrative and putting value in it. This is kind of the essence of what I've been thinking about a lot lately. We were talking about these sources, CJ. It's like what you value as a news source. It depends on if you can deconstruct what feeds your narrative and understand that these people are reporting facts. They're not really putting their bias into it. I think a lot of publications, print media, would you call it newspapers, are valued. New York Times, Washington Post. That's what I read, man. I mean, you call it leftist or whatever. I just call it investigative journalism. I put value in that they're investigating that. Value is what it's about. It's like, what do you value in you as a person walking around in this everyday life? Do you value? This is what I think the virus has exposed about America. How selfish are you? Do you value your community? Are you thinking about how you are a victim of this whole virus? Your mask. I'm a victim. It's like, what do you value versus your society, the town you live in? I may not be having a virus, but these other people might not. Do you value their lives, or is it all about you? It's just really what has exposed this virus has exposed how selfish Americans are and how much they care about themselves and how disconnected they are from science and the scientific method, but not just science, but history in general. The actual depth of human suffering that's gone on the planet. They call liberals snowflakes because we're weak or whatever. These people can't even put a freaking mask, a piece of cloth on their mask for 15 minutes when they walk in a store. They're calling us snowflakes. You guys can't even put a mask on when you go in a store. And it's like that's just like the simplicity of it all. I'm going to go on like a quick rant, summate here.
Do it. Go.
Please.
Go.
Hit him, because I'm going to get another beer.
Yeah, and bring me one of them Doppel biscuits.
Yeah, I got you.
Siege of Leningrad was 882 days. The Siege of Leningrad, right? All right, so here we are in this contemporary society, 2020. We got CrossFit. We got video games. We got the internet. During a pandemic, we have friends. We can talk on the phone. We can do whatever we want. We can still be with our family. We can still be with them. You know what?
From across the country.
You can see exactly. You can still pet your pets. You don't have to eat your pets. All right? That's what happened. People ate their pets. They ate all the mice. They ate all the rodents. They started eating the wallpaper. They started making soup out of their dad's leather shoes. All right? This is how soft we are right now. We're upset about a mask for 5 minutes in a store. These people ate Fluffy. They ate Scruffy, and then they turned around and they looked at each other. They ate every insect off the wall. They looked at each other with cannibalistic eyes. Right? And they couldn't even go outside because they're getting bombs dropped on them. They're getting 88 millimeter artillery shells dropped on them. They're surrounded. They had 125 grams of bread a day, half that sawdust, and I didn't have any rations for 5 weeks. And so here we are in this contemporary soft ass society, and I'm just like, what is wrong with people, man? They have no. Can you just conceptualize a night in a foxhole on Guadalcanal? Can you just think about that for 15 minutes? And then tell me that you are a victim. Get the fuck out of here.
I want to jump right on that.
I'm so glad we brought him on tonight.
I can't follow that. I agree with every.
There is no following that.
Every fucking thing.
And it's not a competition.
The hardest thing, if I'm going to speak frankly from me during this period of COVID-19 is listening to people express how hard it's been for them. And I've always considered myself a very empathetic person. I mean, Vin, you and I have, before this podcast, we've hung out, we've talked. I feel for anybody going through anything. I've watched so many people who have never gone through anything tell me how hard this has been for them. And my patience is running out on that because
this wasn't hard for me.
I look in the mirror. I look in the mirror every day. I have a complaint. And I'm like, is this really worth fucking going down this rabbit hole?
And no, I personally, this was not like I was not put off that way by any of this. Like, if anything, I fucking enjoyed it. Because I
played your strengths.
I played them. It played a little bit to my strengths. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
My wife too.
You know, people like ourselves, you know, like service industry workers, music industry workers, all of the above. Like, we work 2-3 jobs, and that includes our day jobs. That includes gigging. That includes, you know, working another job just to make ends meet. So yeah. For a little while, it was nice to have some, like, uninterrupted, forced time off because we all work our fingers and our hands and our fucking souls to the goddamn bone. Like, you gig more than anybody I fucking know between, like, 2 or 3 different bands. CJ, between brewing and bartending at different places, and Josh working 2 or 3 different jobs, whether it be in Whitefish or in Bend, myself having done the same, and also going to school a couple of years ago, like, for me, like, this was a welcomed, like, yo, we've all been working really hard.
First time since high school, I actually had time off. Like real
forcible time off. So to say that this was, like, hard on me, it was like, completely flabbergasting to me. I can't speak those words because if anything, it first of all in the beginning it forced me to take a look at the things that I was doing with my life and hobby-wise what I needed to get together. And yeah, sometimes, I mean, most of the time work gets in the way of the things you try to do in the background, whether it's learning guitar, trying to get better at drums, learning how to make beer, whatever. Me, and everyone else on this podcast had that forced time on us during this pandemic. So for those of us that it worked out for, we see a completely different thing than all the people like, oh, this affected me because like I was at work, or like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to play down the people that lost their businesses or lost work, or kids being out of school and everything else. I'm not trying to downplay any of that. But there is something to be said for the break that was given to the individuals like ourselves that have worked tirelessly for decades. And now, like, things that are coming out of it, like the beer that you're making where you work, CJ, has, like this time off has given you time to focus more instead of just like cranking through beer after beer after beer because you're just trying to keep up with consumption. Vinny, what you've said multiple times between yourself and Rebecca, your wife, like how beneficial some of this time off has been for like your writing and her playing and, your projects and stuff that you need to do with the property. Same thing with you, Josh, like understanding that you need to get back into, enjoy every day and your photography and your video blogs and everything else. Yeah. Me realizing that I miss brewing and I haven't been able to do it since the end of August, but creating a couple of podcasts where I get together and talk to my friends, once a week I wouldn't have started this. I mean, we started the beer podcast before COVID had started, about probably, it was only like a few months before COVID. It was October last year.
Yeah, no, we pretty much started and then I pieced the fuck out.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 months before COVID started when we first started the podcast. Now I've got a second one, and
we're on season 2.
We're on to season 2 with this one, and I'm starting season. I'm in 3-4 episodes on season 1 with the other one, and 20 grand got a facelift and all this other shit. Like, there's been a lot of things. Yeah, lung transplant.
Thomas, I think you bring up, I think that was really well said, and I think you bring up a really good point, which kind of goes on to another thing that I was hoping to touch on tonight, that I was telling you about earlier, that just, I mean, there's been a lot of shit that has kind of been rough over the last couple of years. There's also been, a lot of good things that have come out of it in the moments, and looking forward to the future. I think, we could really take a lot of the things from this messed up year of 2020 and we could either make really good out of them or we could make really bad out of them. I was talking to my friend today on our way down from the ski resort, talking about like, I don't think a 2-party system really represents America anymore. With 30 something million people, 2 parties isn't really enough. But if you look at it, like, the Democratic Party's already been being fractured for years because you have like the way more extreme liberals and the more moderate liberals. And now the Republican Party is going to really kind of face a reckoning. Who wants to follow Trumpism and who wants to stay in traditional moderate Republicanism? And I think there's the potential coming out of this and looking forward to the next, 4 years, to the next presidential election, that it could really change the dynamic of politics in the United States, and potentially in not a bad way. And so something I've been thinking about a lot lately, in just trying to like rationalize the shit show that this year has been, and something I've been actually really curious to hear Vinny's opinion on, thinking about coming into this episode, is like, what do you think? I mean, I know we've got our fears about the negatives that could come out of this over the next few years, but like, what do you think some of the positives are that could come out of this whole experience? Looking forward to the next, couple years, to 4 years to decade, you know?
Well, I honestly think the electoral college is really under the microscope with a lot of people now. The Democrats have won 7 out of the last 8 popular votes. And so people are really like starting to think about it. It's gaining momentum to overturn that thing. And that is the only way to like segue into the other part of your question is and what we talked about off mic was caucusing and having multiple parties. There is no doubt. If there was a Ralph Nader or Jill Stein this year, a serious one, it would have fucked things up big time. So you know that there is a huge contingency of Greens that vote Democrat. So it's true. Yeah. So let me break down what I see as the parties in the country. If you would have no electoral college, because there's no way any small party, if there's 3 to 5 parties like there would be in like Europe or so, Germany and whatnot, if there's 3 to 5 parties, which our country truly deserves, if there was 3 to 5, one of those would never win the electoral college outright. Like a 2-party system, obviously. So now we're talking on the same wavelength. Electoral college has to go. There's no reason to honestly support the electoral college right now. There is no reason at all. It doesn't make any sense at all anymore. So so you got your Greens, your leftists, extreme leftists. I think a lot of those people in the Democratic tent fall under that. And then you have your, like, what would you call your moderate Dems, your Clintonites, your triangulators, your Wall Street Democrats, they're your moderates, the ones that look at the leftists and they're like, we want to be there, but we can't really go there because it doesn't really make a lot of sense, and it affects Wall Street because of capitalism. So there's your 2 parties there. And then you have like your evangelicals, like I said, which is 28% of the country. And then you have your independents, which I think is probably between 12 and 15% of the country, aside from Thomas, from the people that don't vote. and then
hey man, I told you that this was the first year I voted because to me
it mattered.
It mattered the most.
Yeah. And then you have like the same people that are
goddamn here to do it.
I think a lot of those moderate centrist Democrats are also fall under Wall Street Republicanism too. So there's really is like 4 to 5 different parties in our country that would if they were true to themselves, you know, they would actually break down like that. And I don't only think that like the parliamentary approach or like the Australian ballot or ranked voting is the only way to get anywhere in this country. That will include disaffected people because we obviously hate each other. How can we find a way forward that includes everyone? And I would say, you know what? I think that ranked voting would make the most sense, and I think that it would represent people in our country better than this 2-party system does now. Because a lot of people that Thomas talks about, the people that disaffected, the people that don't vote because it's a 2-party system and they don't believe in it. A lot of people that do vote, they vote because they are strict adherents to a social contract, right, whether it's right or left.
It's black and white.
It's black and white.
There's no in between.
I'm pro-choice. Yeah. I'm pro-life. And everything else besides that doesn't matter anymore because it's an electoral college and it's the only way to win.
Well, and so I can't disagree. No, go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
As a follow-up question, I'm just curious. Do you think, like, obviously, I've been saying for years that we should abolish the electoral college. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen. I mean, this could be the time for it to happen, just with how much scrutiny it's under. But even if that doesn't happen, let's say in the next 2 years, between the next like midterm election, or even the next 4 years by the next true presidential election, even if we don't see that get abolished for the presidential election, do you think, given everything going on lately, that there might be more of a chance to start seeing some of those third parties gaining more seats in the Senate and the House of Representatives because those fall a lot less strictly into the electoral college realm?
So you're saying if there was no electoral college,
Well, no, I mean, even if we have the electoral college essentially deciding the presidency, the Senate and the House of Representatives that don't get decided on based on the electoral college, do you think we're going to start seeing a lot more third-party seats getting taken?
Man, I don't think so, because I think people are digging into the trenches right now. The only thing I can see that would facilitate what you're talking about is a Republican civil war, which is what we're looking at. We're looking on friendly fire, them firing back and forth at each other.
Which isn't entirely unrealistic at this point.
It's not, and it should happen. The Republicans should, and that would actually be good for to get things done in this country, because there's been so much gridlock. I think that if you had a bunch of moderate centrist Republicans working with Democrats, and it kind of no, I don't want to. I had to say this to my own detriment because I believe in their leftist philosophies, excluding the kind of leftists, but getting them some of their ideas trickling in. I think the country could actually get some shit done, which would go back to the essence of this conversation. It's like, why are we where we're at? Because our country is ineffective. It's inept. It's not working well. There's a lot of gridlock, and that's what we're looking at. And if the Republicans don't really figure out how they want to move forward, because they are a great institution, and historically in the United States, a party of Lincoln. I can't really shit on Abraham Lincoln, man. You know, he kept the Union together. But what it's become now, just hating liberals. Is what it looks like to me.
It's a big difference.
Why do you vote
It's a
for
big
Republican
difference.
people? Because I hate those damn communists.
It seems like it, and you know, but at the same time, they love their libraries, they love their public schools, they love when someone plows the roads. You know, it's like all the things that they about socialism. They like libraries. You know,
Well,
Socialism for the rich, man. Come on, take care of the companies.
That's an amazing thing about our and this is what happens when you only have two parties, is that the Republican Party has proven that the farther they pull to the right does not actually mean the farther the Democratic Party pulls to the left. They pull the Democratic Party toward the center. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of people, and no matter what you identify as or believe in, you have a lot of people who have found themselves without a party because no party really, like, hey, I'm fiscally conservative, but you know what? I respect women's rights. I don't have a party. With that statement alone, I don't have a fucking party. Okay? I can be economically conservative and believe in a woman's right to choose, and I do not have a party because our parties are so polarized.
Yep.
You cannot be a Republican unless you check these 5 boxes, and you now cannot be a Democrat unless you check these 5 boxes. Well, that doesn't represent our electorate anymore.
No.
And that's very frustrating.
That hasn't
I don't
that hasn't defined our electorate in 20 years.
But we base our entire political system off that. What are you? Democrat or Republican? Right or wrong, black or white? And look, I'm gonna go ahead and forgo all my personal opinions about both parties because that's a conversation. But that alone is very frustrating for a lot of people. That you have to identify as one or the other just to get one thing done you believe in, even though the other 9 things on the docket you don't give a shit about.
When, as far as I'm concerned, like, we should all be on the same fucking side trying to get shit done.
Well, agreed. But how amazing is it that you can no longer, and I'm going to say this being on the opposite side of the spectrum, but I'm going to go ahead and defend. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. You know, these day and age, you can't be part of the GOP without being misogynistic, racist, money-grubbing pieces of shit, privileged pieces of shit. Now,
yeah, but that's just politicians in general.
I subscribe to a lot of those mantras and how I feel about those people. But that being said, isn't that awful that we've created a political system where you're right or wrong?
Yeah.
There is no middle ground anymore. And
There's no Henry Clay. There's no great compromise.
I consider myself a socialist. I shouldn't have a middle ground in this country. But left and right cannot even sit down anymore and talk.
No.
Because we're so polarized.
So entrenched.
So entrenched. That's an even better term, but like we are so dug into it's my way or the highway that we can't find a middle ground. And I'm not advocating for one side or the other here. I'm kind of reflecting on the fact that it's really hard to be a political individual anymore in this country of the free, in this country of the powerful, this country of the whatever the fuck you want, greatest country, whatever the fuck you want to call it. In America, you cannot actually be independent and politically active anymore.
You know,
that's powerful in a negative way. Sorry to stop you, Josh.
Oh, no, sorry, I thought you were wrapped. That's finished
really,
your statement, but
that's really a fucking
negative partisanship.
Negative partisanship is ruining us because there's no room for the independent to stand up and say, "Well, what about this?"
Yeah,
that's not available anymore.
What I was going to say was just one of the weirdest things and almost most depressing things coming back to like. So I, spent a couple years in Montana where I was not behind the bar. I wasn't working that same kind of capacity that I was before I moved to Montana. And then I moved back to Bend in the era of COVID and in the year of this extremely divisive election and started bartending again. And I think one of the saddest things and one of the weirdest realizations that I came to was, bars are supposed to be like a communal place where people can come together and talk and discuss and come up with ideas and create things and even have debates and disagree on things, but be able to come to an agreement somewhere in the middle and like have these conversations. But the way our political climate is, where, like you were saying, CJ, it's just black or white. You are this or you are that. I can't allow those conversations to happen in my bar, right? Like if I have two tables sitting next to each other in my bar and one of them starts talking with the other table about who they think the biggest clown president of the last decade is.
It's now your job to
and they have dissenting opinions on that. Or they start just talking about how awful or great they think the president is. I, as the bartender, actually have to step in and play a moderator role and stop them from talking about it. If it's an empty bar and someone says their political opinion to me, instead of being able to have a conversation with them, I have to be like, hey, look, man, I've got my own strong opinions on this, but I'm currently working right now and I'm representing this establishment, so I can't have this conversation with you and I can't really let you have this conversation either.
It affect your tips.
Instead of being able to allow conversation and debate and growth to flourish in a bar, which is where it historically has happened over the centuries, the millennia. Now suddenly the bartender is responsible for mitigating those conversations and not allowing them to happen.
Whatever happened to just letting those guys throw a bunch of chairs at each other and break bottles over their heads and figuring out their own shit?
Because the liquor control commissions will find the bartender and not the people who did it. So suddenly I'm losing my job over that shit.
Culpability.
Ain't that some bull? Yeah.
Isn't it interesting too that to even play a further off spectrum point? Isn't it funny that you have to go to work and silence your opinions so other people can bear theirs clearly and freely? And you,
but doesn't that,
I mean, like,
isn't that like against your First Amendment rights?
Well, it's not that I have to silence my opinions
Second Amendment, whatever
people
it is
are telling me to silence them. I have to silence
economic livelihood.
The service industry.
Right.
Yeah.
The idea being the service industry, though, like the idea of that whole like, well, no politics at the bar is not no politics at the bar. It's that no bartender talks politics at the bar.
Well, the bartender mitigates the other people talking politics without being allowed to express their opinion.
We avoid that shit.
You could have the most degenerate person in the world saying that they think the Holocaust should happen again. And another person who's like, oh, no, that's a horrible idea. And you have to be like, guys, we can't have this debate. You can't even agree with the person saying that's a horrible idea. I'll probably kick the other person out because I'm like, no, you're an idiot and I'm cutting you off and you can leave my fucking bar. But I'm not going to tell them why. And I can't tell them why. Right? Like,
right. It's a funny way of limiting conversation in this very abstract way where it's just like, well, this can happen between you guys, but I can't weigh in because I'm on the clock.
Oh, and now you're starting to get loud about it, and other people hear it, so I can't let you even have that debate.
Right, because anytime I step in, I'm making a statement as well. So it's just a funny dichotomy.
It's very interesting how we've gone to this black and white world, and in a way that limits the traditional social gathering and the traditional conversational aspects about some of these things.
And this is a great segue into our final topic point of the evening is of where, and I'm going to feel this right at you, V, lacrosse style, coming way downfield.
Basket, and
coming in hot.
Coming way downfield. With everything that's happened in the last 3 months, 6 months to a little under a year, where do you have an idea of where you see things headed in the next 4 to 8, 12, 16 years? Do you see how?
Talking about America in the next 12 to 16 years.
Yeah, or over the course of the next 3 to 4 elections. Do you see from previous history reading, because I know you have read extensive amount of literature on world history and U.S. history, and given the repetitive patterns that this country seems to fall itself into, do you see anything changing in the next, decade and a half, based on the things that have happened over the last 12 months?
Well, let me see if I can summarize. It's a great, very super hard question. But I want to just articulate one thing I've read recently. I forget the author's name. He was a scientist. He started like studying bugs, but entomology. But then he moved into like sociology. He's under the impression that in America, there's too many people and not enough jobs. Like I thought about this when I was like in college. It's like every year, my university UVA would kick out so many lawyers every year, and like so many lawyers. And like how are these people have jobs? How do all these people have jobs? There's only so many elite, what you would call it. This guy called them elite jobs in the country, right? So just follow me here. This is kind of a weird train of thought. And he would say, well, they kept building up this amount of professionalism in our country. These elitist or lawyers, these highly educated people, they have nowhere to go. So what he was theorizing is that it builds into an opposition party, right? And you kind of see this developing, this anti-elite thing going on, but it's really there's a lot of elitists leading the anti-elite thing. There's a lot of people that graduate from Harvard and Yale that aren't liberals, all right? So these people are out there in the world, and he was saying that this elitist, counter-elitist group would build up so much that it would terrorize and destroy our country. This is what this guy thinks will happen in America in the next 16 to 20 years. I don't necessarily know if I agree. I do think we need to create, like I said before, a cult deprogrammer in this country, or reinvent the education system to head off anything that I could even imagine it would be at the pass. We aren't investing in a lot in education. We aren't treating it as it should be. We aren't giving the teachers the money they need, the resources they deserve. We don't respect them the way we should be respecting other professionals that have MBAs and whatnot. They are you're laughed at. The best people, those who can't teach. That's bullshit. It's sad. It's a thing that's been going on for generations. Until we start appreciating the people that are educating the youth. I
almost feel like that statement's the other way around. Those who can't teach just do.
Well, the teachers would agree with you. But until we get that situation under control, where we have respect for science. This is what the crux of it all is respect for science and respect and understanding the perspective of history. If we don't have respect for science and the science, people were like, in the beginning of the virus, they're like, oh well, thing hasn't killed anyone yet. It's like, it just fucking started. The virus just started. You're comparing the death rates of this to other viruses that have happened in history. It's like it's just bad. It's just bad science. It's just like people aren't really understanding that the scientific method. They're like, oh well, they were against masks in the beginning. Well, because the president didn't have enough masks in the stores. So that's why they were against it, because they didn't want you to use them all, so the nurses could fucking use them. Now they say it's good. So that's called the scientific method. Things change. People don't respect it anymore. And all these things you always read these like Newsweek, U.S. News World Report. The USA is so-and-so 30th or 28th in math and science. That never really hit me till this year. Right? It didn't. I was always like, oh well, it's our. We need to spend more money on education. No, we're dumb.
No, we're fucking dumb, dude.
We're dumb. We're dumb as shit, and I don't know how it happened, and it scares me. And that to me, getting to where you're at, the question you're posing is, I hope only thing we can do is hope to educate people and get them to understand. Because if this thing happens again, and people put themselves before a community. That's the death of America. If I was another country right now, this country is so divided. If I was like China and North Korea and Russia, and I was getting together, I'd be like, let's go get them.
Yeah.
Let's go get them. You got 1 million men? You got 1 million men? You got all the weapons in the world? Hey, I got all the weapons in the world. China? And that's another thing. It's like circling back. I'm concerned about China's naval supremacy in the Pacific. There's part of me, that's the most conservative part of me, is wanting to have a strong enough military that doesn't take away from our budget. Because America has to be America, but I don't like we spend 58% of our budget on the defense. I wish we could just tax Jeff Bezos to pay for it all.
What was the thing? Like we spend more than the next 20 countries combined on our military. We're not bringing a fucking gun or a knife. We're not bringing a gun to a knife fight we're bringing a nuclear bomb to like a rock fight, right? Like everyone else is like throwing rocks at each other, and we're like, here's a nuke. We win.
China's not anymore.
Right.
China's military buildup has happened in the last 8 to 12 years, and they've been sleeping. Everyone's been sleeping on it.
It's been going up, but I mean, ours, just the amount of money we spend. But at the same time, it's like one Tomahawk missile costs like fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
Like, like you could fund so much other shit with that one missile.
So much money. Yeah, it's huge waste.
Education, sports, music, so many other things that we could be supporting other than like making fucking bombs and tanks that are impenetrable from fucking grenades and like
kamikaze drones are out there now. You read about these, right?
Yeah.
In the Azerbaijan-Armenian civil war, the Armenians had the upper hand with all the technology. Kamikaze drones.
So they just fly in, plastic strapped in,
bombs. Yep,
just right in there. Boom. Anyway, I hope we're in a good place in 12, 16 years.
I mean, I hope we're in a good. I hope we're in some sort of more of a
4, 8, 12, 16 years from now.
I hope we're personally. I hope we're in a much more forward-thinking collective as like as a country.
Hope the wealth's distributed a little better.
Oh, fuck, that'd be nice.
I mean, possibly, but I feel like it all starts with us all realizing that there's certain things that are going to be beneficial to us. There's certain things that are going to be detrimental to us. We have to think about the future of and health of this planet and not just what we're dealing with right in this moment. I mean, I know the Jedi rule is to stay present in every moment, but I feel like at this point we're so far skewed from that we need to look toward the future based on where we're at now.
Indubitably.
The more of a conscious collective that we have as a state, a country, a planet, a collective of people, a fucking race that just lives on the planet and shares a finite amount of space. You know, like, we're eventually going to have to all get along. I don't think I'll see it in my lifetime. Like,
it'll have to happen someday.
It'll either, like, we are either going to throw ourselves into a state of extinction, or we're going to figure shit out and thrive as a collective. And I really don't know
which one's more likely.
I mean, but you're the positive person that hopes on the fact that we become the collective. I, on the other hand, think that we're just going to turn this ball.
No, I'm the positive person, and my thoughts are not the positive ones here.
You know, like we're going to turn this planet into Mars.
Desertification.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to run ourselves extinct, have to find another place to live after destroying the one place that we were given to live.
I base my
I'm not even given to live, the one place that created us to live. Yep. If we follow
I base
Darwinism
my positivity upon realistic expectations. So, when I go into an experience or an event, I try to see like, okay, this is what has happened in the past, and so this is what I truly think can happen. And 99% of the time, things turn out well. But given human nature, my expectations for humanity's ability to come together are a little bit lower than I wish they were.
I want to give it time. Like I said, I don't think my consciousness is going to be around for that. But I hope that whatever my consciousness turns into afterwards has a...
We need the aliens to come to unite humanity. It's like you wonder about some of the space movies you see, and there's like racism in space, and it's supposed to be like 22nd century, and you're like, really? They're still racist in
There's
space in the
spracism,
future, and now the spacism, spracism. I don't know what you call
Spracism?
but it happens, and I'm like, I always want. First, I was like, oh, they're still smoking in space. And I was like, oh wow.
I think
now I'm like, there's still racism in space.
I think that's called astro racism.
Astro racist.
No, I mean one of my favorite TV shows.
Seriously.
It's about to come out with a new season, The Expanse.
Oh, that's my favorite TV show ever. Sci-fi.
Dude,
sci-fi.
it's
Which
amazing.
one?
There's a new
Expanse.
season coming out,
Okay.
I think, this week. But
Yeah.
there's the Marsers versus the Earthers versus the Belters.
Such a great political.
It's
thing.
always an us versus them.
Yeah.
But before we divulge too far away, CJ, I want to hear your thoughts too on 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, 16 years. Like, where do you see us going, man?
I mean, I hope we're all living on the moon and peace is a real thing.
You believe in the moon?
China's gonna own the moon. Watch that.
I can't ski on the moon. I don't want to go there.
Actually, I wouldn't.
There's no snow on the moon. I don't want to ski
you don't-
down
the gravity,
moon
really.
rocks.
No, man. There's a lot of dust, and gravity works in your favor.
No, if we're talking about colonizing Pluto, now I'm interested.
Europa. Ice skating.
But anyway, CJ,
skating.
like, what do you see
don't-
happening, man?
I don't know any person who's gotten through this last year and said like this is good for me. I don't know any person about that. This has been a very confusing time. I hope that
I wouldn't say it's been good. It's been like
it's been trying for everybody.
eye-opening.
It's been enlightening.
It's been a process,
It's
right?
been enlightening.
It's been something to go through.
there are definitely some good things that have come out of it, but it hasn't been the best situation to have caused those things.
And I'm not going to compare my exposure to anybody else's. I knowing you all personally, I know that this year has not been good for anybody, and knowing other people, this has been a hard and very trying year. I think my hope and my concern going forward in 2021 is that maybe we go through this period where we're so divisive and we're so polarized, and maybe we get back to a point where we can actually have a fucking conversation about shit again.
Cool.
That's. Do I think that's possible? Yes. Do I think it's probable? I don't know. I'm not the smartest person in the room, but do I think it's hopeful? Yeah. That we can sit down and have these conversations and not agree. But part of finding rational solutions is not agreeing, right? There's been
I disagree
nothing
with that.
I'm disinclined to acquiesce to your request.
I hope we get to a point where it's okay to say that again and really focus on the next answer being not, fuck you, but the next answer being why. And tell me why, and listen, and there are problems that I believe face both this country and this world beyond things we have time to talk about on this podcast.
Exactly. I could talk about climate change next time if you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Love to.
I would love to.
Oh, we're definitely going to have you on again. It might not be climate change, but definitely in the future
Sorry
for
to
sure.
interrupt, though.
No, but you're right. I would love to speak about climate change. I would love to speak about economic disenfranchisement. I would love to speak about everything that's going on. But we have to take it step by
This
step.
motherfucker wrote a whole book on this shit.
Yeah. Well, we have to focus on.
Some people read it.
And you're Vin, not only a more of an expert than I am, but the guest on it. But we have to focus on these things step by step, right? I mean, we have to start tackling them as a whole. We can't piecemeal this shit, I guess is where I'm going with that. Is that coming into 2021, if we want to make real change, in my opinion, we've passed the point where we can just say, we'll get there in 2040. It's like, no. We have to start making big change now. And to me, that means tackling one issue at a time and just saying, we're going to make this the focal point. We're going to put this down.
I mean, we're not going to get there in 2040 if we don't start now.
If we don't just start chomping at the bit, and that's going to require some changes politically and socially that are uncomfortable for a lot of people. But it's right. It's right to turn the pot down and stop simmering the fucking frog. It's if you're asking me honestly, I hope that we start making real change, not half-ass bullshit, but real fucking change. And I am not the smartest person, not only in this room, but in any room. But man, economic mobility, economic disenfranchisement, police reform, all these things need to start being tackled. The disenfranchisement of minorities in this country. They all need to start being tackled, and they all need to start being tackled right fucking now. But a two-party system can't take them all on.
Yeah.
So how we tackle this problem is really going to be how much we can achieve. You know, we could sit there and say we're going to swing the bat at everything tomorrow, but we're going to miss every time. We have to find a way to from a government standpoint and from a social standpoint, be very fluid and start pushing on all these fronts, but really tackling them methodically is my feeling, you know?
Yeah, I can't believe they didn't get any infrastructure shit done in the last 4 years. Like, that seems like a really obvious thing for both sides to come together. Let's fix the bridges and the airports. They can't even get that done. It's like that, like you're saying, knocking off these things one as we go. Let's start doing it, man. Let's just like get together.
We got to start doing it now if we want the future for the world that none of our children will live in. You know,
Not mine anyway. My tube's been tied since I was 12 years old. What age can you get your tubes tied at?
I feel like 12. I feel like 12's a good
you
age.
have the answer to that.
I feel like 12's a good age for you.
I feel like if they were tied from that age, you would know.
Thank you. The insert your own church here.
All right, guys. Should we wrap this up? Just call it an evening.
It's
I think we're at a good place.
Yeah.
I think we're in a
we've
good
had some
spot, too.
conversation.
Where on the social medias can the listeners find you, V?
I mean, I'm on Twitter and Facebook, but you know, I'm not really like I'm just putting out random posts. I'm not really like doing any kind of like weekly blog or anything like you guys do. I'm just a amateur social critic, man.
Amateur social critic.
But most brilliant drummer in the Flathead Valley.
Try and find him on the
Straight
social
up.
medias.
Good
Otherwise,
luck.
Too nice.
straight up.
Too nice.
Josh, where can they find you?
You all know the Viking Peaches at Enjoy Every Day. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I do all the stupid things, and I hate doing them, and I suck at them, but I still post frequently. So, you know, find me there.
CJ, we know you have less than.
I'm much like Vinny. I don't do that. I'm off the
No.
grid.
You actually have less social
have
media
less
presence than
CJ
Vinny
doesn't,
because
CJ
he's at
is a
least
ghost.
there.
But we now know his last name.
You know what I
if
mean?
you
He
were
might not
paying attention at
interact
the
a whole lot,
beginning.
but he's at least there.
Don't message me. Don't do any of that shit.
Maybe we'll
Don't do
bleep
it.
out your last name at the beginning
Don't
of
do
the
it.
episode too.
If you
Keep you a
text one of
ghost.
these guys, I'm sure I'll respond.
I might
through
just throw in a bleep over your name at the beginning, CJ.
Christopher M.
Oh man.
Keeping it very local and very low key.
Very locally.
And as always, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at cousin_T. Look for the podcast on Instagram. No Twitter accounts, but final.gravity.podcast. On Instagram, you can also help us out and support on patreon.com/finalgravitypod if you want to throw some money at us and help keep this content and
Buy us
shit
a
going.
6-pack.
Buy us a 6-pack or something. Other than that, I think this has been a really good conversation with you boys. Vinny, thank you for being here with us.
Pleasure having you, brother.
Josh,
Thank you.
thanks for tuning in, coming in this week. And everybody out there listening, remember, life, liberty, and the pursuit of craft beer. We'll catch you guys after the first of the year, because we're taking our week off next week, and then it's Christmas, then it's New Year's. So we'll catch you guys for the rest of season 2 in 2021.
Resolution episode. Let's go.
Yeehaw!